Thrust-2b may potentially be the darkest planet in our universe, with it absorbing over 99.9% of the light that shines on it. In fact, if any of you have heard of Banta Black, the color is so incredibly dark that it completely distorts your perception of reality and makes it near impossible to garner any dimensional information. Just think of that, but even worse. The lack of visibility one might experience from being out at night doesn't even come close to the cloak that shrouds this planet. Rather, imagine yourself completely trapped in a sealed-off cave a couple hundred kilometers below the surface without any source of light, and that would better give you an estimation of how little light this planet reflects. This gigantic, Jupiter-sized planet is also tidally locked, just like our moon. That means there's a full side of the planet that has never even experienced the light of its parent star. Even worse, because of how much light it absorbs, its atmosphere hovers around a constant temperature of approximately 2000 Kelvin. And just for reference, lava on Earth only goes up to about 1500. So yeah, it is incredibly hot. But this heat it packs has caused speculation that it may not be as dark as we think it is. Looking at the Stephen-Boltzmann equation, you can see that this incredibly high temperature causes the planet to possess an extremely high thermal emission as well. That means its surface may be emitting a low red glow in the visible spectrum of light rather than as infrared radiation, as it emits this radiation back into the cosmos. So even if you were to somehow set foot on Thrust-2b, yeah, you would very likely not be shrouded in complete darkness, but you would rather be able to experience the hellish nature of its atmosphere, with your skin quite literally peeling off your body and an extremely painful death. But yeah, you may be able to see a little bit. Now, the reasons as to why it is so incredibly dark is not completely known, but some researchers believe it may be due to the presence of chemicals that heavily absorb light, such as gaseous sodium or potassium. Some think it may be even as a result of a completely new compound that we don't even know exists yet. HD 189733b. Quite honestly, a deceptively beautiful planet. It tricks you with the appearance of a deep rich blue color, much like our very own oceans, and seems relatively harmless, possibly even inviting with the tons of water vapor and oxygen in its atmosphere. But don't get fooled, because this gas giant, even larger than Jupiter, has horrifying weather, with almost every possible phenomenon that takes place on its land being completely deadly and capable of killing you near instantaneously. It features winds moving up to 8,700 kilometers per hour, an average temperature of about 1000 Kelvin, and that isn't even to mention its rain. Rain that moves side to side instead of up to down, that also happens to shower you with millions of glass shards instead of water, all of which would be easily enough to shred through you and disintegrate you within a matter of moments. And just for you to actually visualize the sheer destructive force this planet possesses, a Category 5 hurricane on Earth reaches about 250 kilometers per hour, maybe a little bit more. And that's strong enough to completely level houses, trees, and maybe even an entire zone or region. The force this planet generates would be more than enough to rip you apart. On the bright side, you wouldn't live long enough to experience the pain, but that doesn't make it any less terrifying. And maybe that's beautiful in its own way. If you've ever been one to get bored of seeing the same sun in the sky, you might be interested in a planet with something far more intriguing. Kepler 16b, with double the amount of stars. This unique planet is located in something called a binary star system, which is somewhat unusual in the fact that it's not a traditional planet orbits the star scenario. All three celestial bodies, the planet and both of its stars, orbit around a very specific point in space. This is due to the gravitational interactions between them. Now, contrary to what you might think, having more stars doesn't necessarily make this planet nice and toasty. Because of its sizable distance away from its stars, and because both of them are considerably weaker in terms of the radiation they emit compared to our very own sun, it's actually quite cold. It hovers around minus 100 degrees Celsius, or 173 Kelvin. So, if you were to step foot on this planet, you'd probably die within a few minutes. by freezing, and that's if you're lucky. But that may be good enough time to potentially view some of the most beautiful cosmic interactions you will ever see. Depending on where this planet is in orbit, you may be able to exist in a perpetual twilight. As one star constantly replaces the other, you might even witness them both in the same sky. How gorgeous would that be?